All right. So Sammy Boy Seder actually went on the PBD podcast. Now, I find this fascinating. Now, look, I have my criticism of Sam Seder. I'm pretty sure Sam Seder, he has some takes here and there. And, let's face it, I find it fascinating that he went on the PBD podcast. And, there's obviously a lot of things that I have my criticism for the PBD podcast as well. But I think we should push forward and hear this conversation out. It's about why the Democratic Party sucks. Now, I think I remember for a long time, there was a lot of people who were saying on social media, oh, how dare Jimmy Dore or other leftists go on shows like Tucker Carlson or the PBD podcast. But I am impressed by crossing the Rubicon. Is it a change in regards towards maybe there be more open communication? Is the safe space shields being turned down? Well, I don't know, but I think it's only fair that we listen just a little bit to it and hear it out. So first, Sam Seder, why the party sucks or why the Democrat Party sucks. I know, but let's see this defense of the Democrats, shall we?
About the illegal immigrants that came to us 4 years.
I will get to illegal.
You don't care about those people.
I will get to the
you cared about children.
But you don't want to talk about this, and I don't blame you because it's embarrassing.
No. But let me do a quick
Every one of those Social Security numbers.
Do a quick time out here. Sam, let me just do a quick time out. You said you don't want to talk about this. You just spun away from a question I asked you, and you brought this up. You haven't even addressed the question I asked you.
Let me
Wait
finish,
a minute.
and we'll get to the
point that
illegal
let's go back to what I asked you. I asked you a question that the money that's going in, Americans prove that they don't trust the government getting the money than free market, free enterprise.
I don't think that's the case.
You never addressed that.
I don't think that's the case. People love Social Security. People love Medicare.
Expenditure. What we learned with Doge. The American people said, Sam, enough of you taking our tax money.
No. Okay, so here's the thing. Oh my God, here's the thing. Doge, all it did was expose waste. However, it didn't expose the big waste. Okay, let's talk about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Okay, these are services that Americans need. Now, what happened? Well, remember Representative Thomas Massey talking about the CR bill? That thing that he was the only Republican to vote against it, and that was it. Well, guess what was in that CR? Everything that Doge supposedly cut. So that means all that stuff that Doge cut, it's still getting that funding. I mean, all it was one big distraction. And while I am on board with getting rid of government waste and to make sure there's government accountability, it was one big song and dance, a big distraction. Plus, it was getting people to cheer on the idea of, oh, well, maybe we should do something about Social Security and Medicare for all or Medicaid or all these other social programs. Yes. Is there waste? Yes. Did the Biden-Harris administration do a lot of stuff? But hold on. This was happening even before under Biden and Harris. So all this waste that was happening and everyone's being shocked or surprised or being angry, they knew all this stuff was going down. Let's go and play the rest of this.
And see what you're doing with it.
Elon Musk made that Wisconsin election of a referendum on Doge. To the extent that we've seen anybody vote on Doge, nobody heard the word Doge before November of last year. To the extent that we've seen a referendum on Doge, it just happened in Wisconsin. It happened in Florida, where the size of the win by those Republican congressmen was cut by 17, 20 points. I mean, this is a wipeout. And every Republican, you're going to see a difference in Republican lawmakers over the next year and a half, because anybody who was in a plus Trump 8 district or less is now starting to go like, wait a second. That's why Musk is being shown the door, supposedly. So getting back to my point about those.
Yes, in case some of you don't know, Elon Musk is supposedly going to be stepping down from Doge in a little bit.
Social Security numbers, they were given all to legal non-citizens. And every one of those cards, you can't vote, because I think you definitely said, and I think maybe you said, that this is a Democratic strategy to get voters. Hold on for a second. The Social Security card that they get literally says not legitimate for voting purposes. It is so that these non-citizens who are legal, just like when you came in, pay into the Social Security system and get Many of them never get
So-
that money back. So in addition to the undocumented immigrants who pay in $22 billion a year into Social Security and get zero back, these people pay several $billion in a year. And only if they become citizens, which most of them won't, most of them will go back home over a period of time. They're here for temporary protected status. Maybe some of them are refugees and they get permanent citizenship. They won't get that money either. So every single thing of that video, this video here, was completely wrong that you guys did. It was fascinating to me because I feel like you, at the very least, I believe that you care about the information you're putting out. And this was all wrong. And
so they're up there. So Sam, this is all a lie. These guys were up there just completely.
Now, of course, there's a lot of things to bring out in regards towards where PBD aligns politically. Yes, it's more Trump, MAGA, all that kind of good stuff, right? All the stuff that warms your heart. However, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to remember that Social Security, there's a lot of people, especially who require and need it, especially Social Security disability insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. And right now, with the way the Trump tariffs are working so fantastically, the stock markets are heading towards a full-on free fall. So what do I mean by this free fall? Well, with this market failing and falling down as hard as it is, who always has to bail out Wall Street and the big banks and the corporations? Oh, that's right. Take a good long look in the mirror. It's you, baby. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you.
Bullshitting with all the numbers. Where he's saying that people in the government are blowing the whistles. He didn't want to say their names. He was giving them praise. And for Sam, for you to say that you care about the kids and the labor and all that stuff. We've had an open border for 4 years, and all the illegals, way more than 10 million, have come into this country. California, is that where you live?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in New York.
Okay, great. Even better. California. So the amount of money that we spent on illegals with housing and all that shit, and Gavin Newsom passing a law that you don't even need an ID to vote. You're saying that we're coming up with where these people aren't coming in for the votes? That's the main goal of this whole thing. What was the open border for? Why was the border open for 4 years?
You want to know why? It's because of feel-good points, the prison industrial complex, money, and political points. That's why. You see, but even then, it was the open border. The kids were still in cages. Like that's the thing. Like people forget that. Like there was still inhumane treatment. These sanctuary cities, they were ill-planned. What this was a game of political chess between Democrat and Republican lawmakers, all the while using people, migrants, and U.S. citizens to be against each other, to create these hypercharged political conversations about what's happening. People are saying that the border is being overwhelmed, but no one's talking about why the border is being overwhelmed. How did it get that way? Well, again, U.S. regime change, wars, coups, sanctions, and of course the drug cartels.
Give me that question.
First of all, the border was not open.
Give me are you kidding me? Look at the. What do you mean the border wasn't open? Are you? Hold on. Did you smoke before you came in here? That's ridiculous.
By the way, Vinny, here's the part.
You're full of it, bro.
Here's the part.
Get out of here.
Sam, here's the part. When I hear this, okay.
Anybody can look at that video. The things you were saying yesterday was a complete sack of lies or just misinformation.
Be honest with me.
Immigration year over year over year. Type in illegal immigration year over year.
The fact that you're saying the border wasn't wide open. How many deaths have happened? How many fentanyl deaths have happened per year while your freaking president, Joe Biden, was in office? How many Americans died just from fentanyl? And you're saying the border wasn't wide open? We've had the most illegal entry in 4 years in the history of the country.
Dude.
This is why. Let me finish. And this is why your party sucks. This is why your party is at 29% approval.
20%.
Because you got 20. Thank you. Because all you guys do is talk shit and just go anti-Trump. You have no policies. You guys have no vision. You have no leaders. You're talking about oligarchs and you hate the oligarchs. Where do you think Bernie Sanders and AOC are going to get their money from? Their donors. Are you don't lie to yourself. For you to look and like.
Now, here's the thing. In the odd defense of Bernie, hang on, don't worry. Because look, I see what's happening, especially with the Fight the Oligarchy tour. It is to get people to be reinvigorated with the AOC Bernie Sanders movement. And see, what's insidious about it is I'm waiting for them to tell us that we got to vote for the Democrat oligarchs because they're going to say, well, you know, we need more Democrats in the House and Senate. We got to take over the House and Senate, and I'm preparing them to tell us that we got to impeach Trump. See, this is the back and forth game that I'm worried about. This is the back and forth game that we have to be concerned about, because with the way these tariffs are going, and not to mention with the stalling of the peace deal in Gaza, if there ever will be one, because Netanyahu is set to visit the White House again very soon, and also with the horrific war in Ukraine, there's going to be that political pushback against Trump and his administration to where his base, or he's that, will not be enthusiastic enough to support him in the 2026 midterm election cycle, which could cause the Republicans the House and Senate. See how the game is played? I see it already. It's not even 2026, and we're not even done. We're not even halfway through 2025, and I see how 2026 is going to play out.
Brother, you're talking about yesterday we lied.
AOC and Bernie Sanders don't take.
Hold on, ready for this? You're saying that we lied 2 days ago. You just lied, and you're going to look like a fool that the border wasn't wide open. Look at this chart. What does that chart say to you? So what is that? What did Trump, when Trump was in, he was trying to close it, but your party was fighting it. It's unbelievable how many illegals have come in the past 100 days.
But this is the part to just be very, just show the data. Illegal immigration, this is Wall Street Journal, is a bigger problem than ever.
Oh, no, that's
These
fake
five
news.
charts explain why. Go a little bit lower. That's under Biden.
Trump got shot trying to show these charts. Literally.
This is October of 2023. Go to the next one.
A guy who was registered Republican.
Here's another
Hold
one.
on,
for you.
can I address what his
let me just show the
rant
data,
was?
and then I want you to say what you want to say. Go a little bit lower with the data,
his-
Ron. No, because he said it's inaccurate. This is another one here
Okay, well,
showing
go back
data.
up. Go back up to the.
And then go to the last one, Rob.
Go to
the last one, Rob.
Go to the top one here.
I mean, this is the
I'll go
numbers
through
you're
all of
talking
these
about.
charts.
So this is, you can
Start one by one. Go up.
explain every one of them. Go
Okay.
for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can see that this is what constitutes illegal immigration. These are, if it was an open border, you would not have these numbers. You would not have the
If it
numbers to
wasn't
know
open border, you
when
would have
Title
this.
42 ends,
Yeah.
more people are coming to the border and they're being put into a system. Period.
That's the best part about it.
And that's the
Because they were
definition.
told to come. Sam, let me explain something.
no,
when
no.
your president
Can I-
says,
Now, hold on. To be clear, Kamala said, do not come. Do not come.
come to the
Is he just gonna
country.
yell all the
No, I'm
time?
not yelling. You just give me facts.
Can I turn down his microphone? Because
You can. Yeah. Just see which one he is. I think he's
Right.
C3 or
Four.
which one is it, Rob?
Four.
C3.
C3.
C3. Go ahead. Lower that right there.
And then the mic.
Right there. There you go.
Volume,
Can you, is
just
that
lower.
good? Is that good? Oh,
C2.
C2. There you go.
Okay. Go.
Yeah, actually, here's the thing. I actually feel sorry for Sammy right now because, man, dealing with that yelling, that like he's probably gonna be like, "Huh? Say something, Sonny."
For it.
All right.
Go
All right,
ahead.
good.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So
You're still going to hear the truth, though. So go ahead.
no, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Can't turn down the truth. Is
No,
what
you
you're saying.
can't.
Open border would mean that we have no records of people coming across the border. The law in this country has been that if you put your foot in this country, it's an international law, it's a U.S. law. If you put your foot in this country and you apply for asylum, you are due a process to do that. 98%.
Now, to be clear, BW, yes, Sam Seder does talk over other people too, so maybe it's a taste of his own medicine. But I feel sorry for him because he's dealing with somebody who's just like constantly turning red. Like, I hope he doesn't get a brain aneurysm.
Of those people who are then what you guys would call catch and release, come back for their hearings. We are woefully understaffed in terms of like immigration judges, and that process is definitely broken. I would love to see more money spent in the processing of these people so that we can establish which ones, like your family,
Like my family as
maybe-
well, illegal immigrants.
but came in
Yep.
through a refugee status. They weren't citizens on day one. They came in, they went through a process, and it's possible at that time. I mean, I remember, I was old enough to remember the Iran hostage situation. I remember the fallout afterwards. There may have been some form of temporary protected status, whatever it was at the time, that allows people to come in. Then they're assessed and processed. It's determined that, yes, their claim for asylum is appropriate or not, et cetera, et cetera. That's what we're looking at there. As you scroll up on those other charts, you can see when Title 42 ends, which was only supposed to be an emergency situation that has to do with health. And
And yes, the process does suck, especially for a lot of migrants in the sanctuary cities here in Chicago, because in Chicago, we did a couple segments, and especially we had special guest Jamal Green join us as well, talking about the sanctuary, shelters. And, not to bring in, something a little bit off topic here, but these sanctuary shelters, there was a lot of questions in regards to the sanitation and safety of the people in those said buildings. There was one incident where they were going to build a shelter in a community on the south side of Chicago, and there were two things that the residents wanted to bring up. Number one, no one informed them that there was a shelter that was going to be built in their neighborhood. And number two, they were saying, don't build it, not because out of hate or anything else, but don't build that there because there's a Superfund site there. There's toxic waste and dangerous material and dangerous earth that if people are around it, they'll get sick, maybe get, some form of disease or cancer, that kind of stuff. Like, toxic stuff that shouldn't be in the human body. That's just one incident here in Chicago. And there's been numerous incidents in regards where migrants, which we covered on the show, we're even talking about just going home because there were no opportunities here in Chicago. And later on in this show, we're going to talk about Chicago being a dead city. And yes, while there are people here, the videos I'm going to show are just going to make me cry a little bit because, my goodness, Chicago's dying. But that's a little bit off topic.
You can't have it both ways. Either COVID ends or it doesn't end, the pandemic. And so people come in. There's no doubt. And that number on that chart that Musk had, under Biden, more people received temporary protected status. We had a problem in Haiti as the country is falling apart. You had people from Ukraine.
Looking at you, politicians, looking at certain lawmakers here. Looking at certain lawmakers in regards to Haiti.
Ukraine coming in because of obviously the invasion. These are all under temporary protected status. They all got Social Security numbers so they could pay taxes into our government and not necessarily get the services back.
Yes, and vote for Democrats.
No, they can't vote.
Right.
Those Social Security cards literally say
AOC,
on the card, say you can't use this for voting.
AOC said we don't have an illegal immigration problem. We have a documentation problem. That's what AOC said. So this is not something new. You know how when you talk about who's better at gerrymandering, the left or the right?
Republicans seem to be better at that.
The Republicans.
I know. I agree. Guess what? So it's not like they can fight it and say, no, we're not. That's their reputation. They have it. They're better at gerrymandering.
No one should be good at gerrymandering. Hold on. Let me say this to the back. Hey, to my Republican and Democrat viewers, how do you feel living, knowing the fact that either political party can gerrymander a district where you live in? Do you like that idea? I mean, yes. I mean, I get it. Hey, I want to be with the winning team, but gerrymandering. Hey, listen, as a Chicagoan, I used to give this joking assignment to Miguel H. Miguel H., your homework assignment is to make a jigsaw puzzle of Chicago with all the districts. Listen, it's like a madman made a crazy jigsaw out of hell. Okay. Like they were literally carving it while doped up on all sorts of wonderful, wonderful substances to make somebody's brain go kaboom. All right. Chicago has been gerrymandered so much. I don't think Chicago will know what a square or circle or triangle would even look like.
Strategically, they're better at doing that. But for you to sit here,
I don't have a problem.
May I make my point?
Let
me make my point.
Yeah.
When you sit here and you watch yourself, when you're saying these policies and you spew out these policies, what the average person does, they'll watch it. And if they've already outgrown it, because today the problem with, folks, content creators have today is the following. Say we say something on a video and we're wrong. You know what others will do? They'll react to it and they'll say stuff to it. And if we're right, they'll keep coming to us to want to hear more of it because they'll say, at least you sound reasonable. And they'll say, I want to hear what John has to say. I want to hear what Joe has to say. I want to hear what Megan has to say. I want to hear what, whoever these people are that are giving ideas out there want to say, right? But when you keep saying stuff that others are able to tear apart so many times that a former liberal watches that maybe was a viewer of you and says, how can Sam not see this and outgrow it? He is still stuck on this policy that's been proven. Americans don't want to pay more taxes to a government that wastes their taxes. How does he not see that? How does he keep pushing this agenda back and forth? Then you lose an audience, and the people you keep is the following. Here's who you end up keeping. You end up keeping an audience that makes you think you're right, but that's not always the case. You keep an audience that, of course, hates rich people. Rich people are bad people, and they're probably not making a lot of money, and they come to Sam to save them. Hey, let's trash and bash rich people because this is what we got to do. Yes, Sam, let's go after the rich. We want 1 million people to sport the Future Looks Bright gear. We are getting very close to it. We got something unique that came in. Just so you guys know, I only wear the Valuetainment wallet. This is all I have. I think the Adam's the same as well. But we got these new wallets, okay, that are RFID protected wallets to have with different Future Looks Bright signs on it. Rob, if you can go through, we got the red one, we got the black one. If you can go to the neck, all the colors so they can see it, beige, blue, gray, brown, you name it. We have it here. Anybody that places an order with these RFID wallets.
Okay, hold on. Oh God, sorry. Hold on. I forgot. He does a commercial. He does a commercial for his stuff. I just realized that. I just realized that he was putting that commercial. Like, come on. Like, seriously, in the middle of a podcast, you're gonna be dropping merch. He's dropping merch. Empty wallets. All right, hold on. It's not done yet because there's one more. I promise. There's one more video of that. I just forgot he was doing his Valuetainment merch.
From the last time you were here, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That it was, give or take, 2 years ago. At the time, it was probably a terrible season for Trump, I think we can say. Trump wasn't having a lot of victories. Trump was at a very low. Republicans were not convinced that he could go. Republicans were thinking it's probably going to be DeSantis or it's going to be somebody else. There was a bit of a split in the Republican Party and the MAGA. Like, I don't know. Even when he opened up his announcement that he's running at Mar-a-Lago, there was not a lot of people there. People saying, I don't even know, this person wasn't there, that person wasn't there, this person wasn't there. And then you get these CNN polls. Rob, if you can pull up the CNN video showing where the Democratic Party is at today, play this clip, and I want to ask you, Sam, what happened to the Democratic Party? Go for it.
Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh, my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse than these numbers.
And this is the number right here really driving all of this. If Democrats have turned, if Democratic voters have turned on Democrats in Congress and the Democratic Party, that's what puts the numbers at historic lows. What is it they want to be seeing, these voters?
What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They don't like what's coming out of some of those Senate Democrats like Chuck Schumer, because take a look at the direction of the party. Democratic voters on Democrats in Congress doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at this. 77% should stay principled, even if it means nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. 65%. And this 65% is such a difference from where we were in 2017 at this point, when just 33% of Democrats say this should stay principled, compared to 59% who said they want to compromise. Democrats do not want compromise at this point. They want a fighter. They want to go into the ring like Muhammad Ali did against Sonny Liston. Wow. They want to take down the Republicans. They do not want this compromise anymore. They want to be more like Republicans, can get up to that stage and fight. And right now they feel like their leaders in Congress are simply not doing so. And that is why their approval rating for congressional Democrats is at an all-time low, even among Democrats.
Rob, if you want to pause that. Sam, what happened? What happened to the Democratic Party?
Well, I should start by saying
what happened to the Democratic Party is because after Ronald Reagan, they started becoming corporatized. Then, of course, the Clintons came in and corporatized it more. Then comes an Obama, corporatizes it. Then, of course, there was a 2016 and 2020 primaries, and yes, 2024 primaries that revealed that, yes, the Democratic Party is a private institution and progressives don't have a home in the Democrat Party. They don't stand for anything. And even when they do have the majority or supermajority, they don't do anything.
And I always thought that Trump would be the nominee. And I for 2 years.
I don't know. There was a lot of people saying that Trump, the walls were closing in. A lot of people were saying that this was it for Trump. A lot of people were saying that Trump was not going to make it. I don't know, Harlan's media. We said there's a very good chance that he's going to probably succeed in the primaries because that's what the Republican primary voters wanted. And of course, that yes, if the Democrats continue to run with Joe Biden, which we were proven correct, and then eventually run with Kamala Harris, that Trump would overstep them, overplay them, and eventually succeed in getting the White House. So I don't know, Sammy. Were you always on board with that camp?
Years ago, I was wondering why Ron DeSantis was lighting his career on fire by trying to run against Donald Trump, to be honest with you. I think, Trump and the Republican Party, I think they're one and the same. And so that doesn't surprise
I don't know. Your debates with Jimmy Dore said something different.
me. Those numbers are some of the most encouraging numbers I've seen in the 20 some odd years I've been doing this, because I want to see it communicated to Democratic leadership that we want you to fight. And I've been riding Chuck Schumer for, 10 years, trying to get him. I mean, Harry Reid was a great, I think, as far as they go, leader of the Senate for Democrats. But I think it's time for new leadership in the Democratic Party. We need and this is not even ideological from my perspective. I think there are Democrats that I agree with and Democrats that I disagree with on an ideological standpoint. But I think a different generation of Democrats understand that the Republican Party is intransigent. There is no negotiating with them. I think the biggest mistake that Joe Biden made was
the biggest mistake was the Democrat Party endorsing two corporate sellouts, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. And of course, again, Joe Biden breaking his word that he'd be a one-term president. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion.
Following the American Rescue Act, which was a massive boon to the American public. We cut child poverty by 45% in a year. I just want to repeat that. We cut child poverty by 45% in a year.
Guys, how did the Biden economy treat you? I know, this Coca-Cola classic question. Type 1 for, oh man, it was great, Type 2, no, it wasn't, and things are still terrible now. Stop asking that question. It hurts too much. I wonder how many twos will show up in the chat. I wonder, do you ever wonder?
Year. Because of that act when Biden first got in. And you know what Republicans were talking about after we passed bills that cut child poverty in a year, that extended unemployment benefits, that provided food stamps, that provided health insurance. Republicans were talking about two books that the Dr. Seuss publisher decided not to publish. And so in my mind, the Republican Party there is completely bankrupt of ideas. And Joe Biden, instead of pushing through Build Back Better over that summer, he opened the door for the Republicans to give a proposal. That went nowhere for 3 months. Then he opened the door for Kristen Sinema and Rob Portman to come in and give a proposal. And that ultimately, I think, is when Democratic voters started getting impatient with Biden, because we were thinking $5 trillion, $4 trillion. Joe Manchin was saying $6 trillion Build Back Better bill. And
didn't Joe Manchin destroy Build Back Better? Yes, he did.
And we never got anything like that. It ended up getting split into the IRA, which was a good bill, but
no, it wasn't.
I think insufficient. And then infrastructure stuff, also important, but insufficient. And so I think what you're seeing is frustration from Democratic voters who are saying, A, you're not fighting. B, you're allowing the Republicans too much opportunity.
Hold on, before we hear from PBD, here's the thing. You want to know what would have energized the base? Forced to vote. March for Medicare for All, join the 3-day General Strike Summit meeting, actually standing up against these corporate Democrats, and really, dare I say it, if Bernie and AOC actually held Biden's feet to the fire. But no, he let a non-elected official, the Senate parliamentarian, start dictating and having control. I mean, the Senate parliamentarian answers to the president and vice president, okay? Senate parliamentarian is a non-elected official. The last Senate parliamentarian to tell a president no got fired, and that was under George Bush Jr. because Cheney gave that office of saying, like, hey, go F off. Because the Senate parliamentarian, all it is an advisor. That's it. Anybody still remember the Senate parliamentarian? No, probably not. And of course, Bernie saying that Biden was his good friend. But now Bernie can talk about genocide. Bernie can talk about all sorts of great things now, huh? Because now it's okay to fight.
And see, we need more government intervention.
Do you think it's more that they're not fighting, or do you think that their policies are simply bad policies and they're not landing?
No, I think it's that they're not fighting. What are the policies?
So tell me what policies are, like right now, the Democratic Party. Who is the face of the Democratic Party, and what are the top 3 things you guys stand for?
Well, I don't think there is a face of the Democratic Party at the moment. I mean, Chuck Schumer is nominally the, you know, the highest elected Democratic official that's out there.
That's not a good sign for you guys.
100%.
Yeah, but hold on. How many times did Sam Seder go to bat for the Democrats? How many times did Sam Seder go to bat for any time when we were challenging AOC or the squad to actually follow through with their convictions? You see, now there's a little bit more to the PBD podcast, but there's only so much I think all of us can stomach and handle. But I do have to commend Sam Seder for actually going on the PBD podcast. I think it's good. I like seeing Rubicons being crossed. However, the game that's being played before you is, here's my team. Yes, they made mistakes. And could those mistakes could have been avoided? Well, I don't think Sam Seder will ever admit that Jimmy Dore was correct. I don't think Sam Seder will ever admit that. No, never. That's not going to happen. And because of the great fights between TYT and Jimmy Dore, and then in turn Sammy versus Jimmy Dore, and the progressives versus progressives, the left has consumed itself. And there really isn't a leftist movement because the Democrat Party had succeeded in destroying any kind of hope of maybe rebuilding, rebranding the Democrats. Yes, I thought there was a chance there too. I was that naive. I thought Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, DSA would have the power of the people, but no. Instead, it got absorbed. Those organizations got absorbed in the Democrat Party, became wings of the Democrat Party, and in turn, any new ideas about bringing in hope, bringing in real progressive policies was stopped, denied, removed, out of the way, kicked out. No, we don't have time to do it. There was plenty of political ammunition and support in which the Democrats could have done some good for us, but they chose not to. Remember, this is the same Democrat Party, just like the Republican Party does insider trading. So PBT might be Team Red, and of course, Sam Seder's Team Blue. But let me ask you, does any party, especially when it gets a supermajority, a majority in the House and Senate, or it gets a presidency, have they ever looked out for your best interest? The answer is no. Both parties suck. Both parties got to go. And this is a screwed up environment that we're in. And no matter what happens, especially with the midterm election cycle, get ready for more hypercharged conversations, because the economy going under, the tariff wars, and these ridiculous wars in Ukraine and in Gaza and the Middle East, all what's going to do is cause it to be distracted even more and more and have people hate each other. This is not how we get in change. This is not how we bring in a better future. And while I do hold on to the audacity of hope that maybe things can get better, relying on a political party or politicians who've made a career of being in office for 20 or 30 plus years, that's the fool's choice, and we all know it.